Beautiful morning to wake up, cook breakfast next to a highway. So I was gonna sit and eat outside this morning, but I just think it's too loud with those cars. It's also starting to get to that point in the day where it's actually kind of hot inside the van. But if you guys have watched this channel for a while, you know that maybe you don't know, but I love cooking. And I think over the course of the last 2 years, I've realized that I kind of enjoy cooking the most out of the things that I do on this channel. I just find it kind of relaxing, and it's something I really enjoy doing. And recently, I've been on kind of a ramen kick. And everywhere I go, I've been trying all the different types of ramen and trying to figure out which one I like the best. I haven't fully decided yet. I think it's the miso ramen. There's a bunch of different types. I'll get into that later. But since I love cooking and I have somewhat of an affinity towards Asian foods, delicious. That looks so good. Cheers. I think tonight I'm gonna try to make ramen, but not just one bowl. I'm gonna try to make it the 3 most popular ways typically offered at ramen spots, excluding tonkatsu, because I don't have 13 hours to boil a bunch of bones and emulsify fat. So for that ramen recipe, you need to spend a lot of time making the broth, which if I wanted to have dinner by 8 p.m. tonight, if I was making tonkatsu ramen, I would have had to start 3 hours ago. So won't be making that one. The 3 types of ramen that are kind of the most popular are miso, shio, and shoyu. And basically that is a miso flavored broth, a soy sauce flavored broth, and a salt flavored broth. And I'm gonna be making miso and shoyu, and then kind of comparing it to your regular instant noodles style ramen, because that's the kind of ramen I grew up on, and I only recently discovered the more artisanal ramen. Oh, also, if you didn't already know, and maybe this is your first video on the channel, I live in my van, and we're gonna be driving out to the desert to cook it, which means I am gonna have to find an Asian market to get all the ingredients I need, because most of the stuff you can't find at a standard grocery store. You can make substitutions for a lot of the stuff, but in order to get that kind of authentic taste, you kind of have to go to an Asian market, which is why I'm super grateful that I have T-Mobile, because with living in a van, so much of my life depends on the reliability of my internet connection, because I'm always going to cool new places, traveling around the country, cooking foods and doing a bunch of random things, and finding places like Asian markets and campsites with a reliable provider like T-Mobile makes my life so much easier. And this is especially nice with the mobile kind of lifestyle that I live, because I'm constantly having to plan out my life. I have to find laundromats, I have to find places to fill up my water tank, gas, campsites, places where I can stay. I mean, there's a million things that I have to plan out on a daily basis that require reliable service like T-Mobile. And luckily there's an Asian Mart only 9 minutes away, so that's really nice. But T-Mobile isn't just good for helping me plan out my life and the logistics of everything. It's nice because it helps me stay connected to my friends and family when I'm on the road for extended periods of time, like when I'm traveling across the country or doing anything that I'm doing while living in a van and I'm not home. I can even hotspot my phone and play video games on my console or on my laptop with my friends from back home, which is always nice because it helps me kind of stay somewhat sane with being alone a majority of the time. So let's go pick up a bunch of food. And we have arrived at the Mecca for Asian foods, H-Mart. You can't see it because I parked in the next area code because I live in a van and it's kind of hard to find parking, but I have to walk a far way to get to the store. Every time I come in here, I'm like a kid in a candy shop. They have so many cool things to try, but we're gonna try to stay on task and get only what we need. Starting with the most important ingredient, ramen noodles. All right, I think we've got everything we need. The last thing is some instant ramen, but we're gonna go with the classic cup of noodles. And this is my favorite flavor, the sweet chili one. We've got everything, I think. Not really sure, I'm not a ramen expert, and this is my first time making it, so I hope I have everything that I need. So I found a spot out in the desert, kind of just like in the middle of nowhere, where we're gonna try to camp tonight and hopefully cook ourselves up a ramen feast, because we've got a lot of that stuff in that store I can only buy in bulk for some reason, so I will be making ramen for quite a few servings. But let's get all this put away. Beautiful. Pantry stuff in the pantry, fridge stuff in the fridge. We're good to go. So the spot that I found that's right around 2 hours away is just some random spot out in the desert that we're gonna cook and sleep tonight. Hopefully it's not too hot. I don't know, I haven't checked the weather, but I'm assuming it's probably going to be decently hot, but hopefully at least it cools off in the nighttime. But to the road. almost missed the turn, but I think this is it. Not the first indiscriminate sandy desert road that I've pulled down before. But I'm hoping we can find a campsite somewhere down here. Apologize if it's loud, it's a little bit washboardy. It's also a lot hotter out here than I anticipated. I feel like I was just out here a week ago and it was 75. Now it's 90. Alright, it looks like this trail kind of just gets more and more steep and more narrow. And I think this is a campsite right here, or at least a level enough spot. So we're gonna pull in here. I'm done driving on this washboarded road. This is easily the most washboarded out road I've ever driven on. There's a few rocks up here. I'm gonna move out of the way. This is it. Not bad views for cooking some ramen tonight. Way hotter than I anticipated though. Not ideal ramen weather. Really kind of in the middle of nowhere out here. Not really anything as far as the eye can see other than that one-lane road. So it should be very peaceful tonight. And I looked at the weather. It's supposed to cool off a decent amount as the sun sets, but for now, until it does, it's gonna be pretty hot. Feels so much better with the door open. Nice breeze coming through the back. Beautiful, and I mean, you can't beat this view. I feel like the thing that always gets me the most with places like this when I get here is just how quiet it is, especially right when I pull up when my ears are kind of used to the sound of the wind and the van driving around. It's just so crazy how quiet it is out here. But we're about to ruin it with the sounds of pans clanking and me cooking ramen. All right, so we're gonna try to do this without any sound. So the first thing I had to do was take these pork belly strips and get them seasoned up. We had some soy sauce, some hoisin, some gochujang, some white vinegar, and mirin. I think that's what that was. And then some salt and some sesame oil, and we'll get that all mixed together and pop that in the fridge. And then I had to put on my apron because I don't want people in the comments making fun of me for wiping my hands on my pants. So I got that on real quick and got going prepping the rest of the ingredients. And the first thing we had to chop up was this shallot. So we gave it a nice fine chop, and then bang, we're cutting up some garlic, getting that ready to go. And then some fresh grated ginger. Awkward look in the camera, 3, 2, 1. And then we moved on to chopping up some green onions. I separated the whites from the greens here, and we chopped them a few different ways. We cut one in the regular circle way, and then we cut them in a cool way. I mean, look at those, look how cool those green onions look. And then the last thing was these fish cakes. I just think they look cool. They're called narutomaki. You see them all the time in shows. I wanted to add them in. And welcome back. So hopefully through the magic of video editing, I found some way to save this video. Because for the last 20 minutes, my mic has not been on, and the entire process of me preparing these beautiful garnishes and things that I needed to prep for my dish is completely silent. So hopefully there was some voice over there that made it work somehow. I don't know. But we've got everything all prepped and ready to go. We did green onions 2 ways, cut in slivers and in little rings. These were kind of hard to cut. These were easy to cut. The whites of the green onions, some fish cakes, which I thought just looked really cool. I don't know how you're supposed to prepare these, but I think they're fully cooked. I think I just got to warm them up in the broth. Never made them before, just thought they looked cool. We got a shallot, some garlic, some crushed garlic, and then some freshly grated ginger. So prep work is done. We also have some, which I'm ready to pull out now, pork belly that I marinated. I didn't follow a recipe for this one. I kind of just threw a bunch of sauces on it and hope it tastes good, but we're gonna get that cooked up first, get that done and over with, and then I'm gonna get started on my broth and cooking up my noodles and basically making the ramen. Beautiful. Look at that. Pull that out. Give that a quick chop. That is ready to go in once we cook our broth. So now that we've got that done, the final little bit of prep work we have to do is make our dashi, which is basically part of our base. And you don't really need the dashi, but it will help the flavor be a little bit more authentic, or so I read from the stuff I'm seeing online. I have no idea. But the only dashi I could find, and it took me forever to find this because nothing on this package, if you can see, is in English. But this is, I think, dashi powder, which is basically just kelp water. But we gotta empty this into some water, and then it becomes dashi. You can look up recipes for making dashi where you just get some kombu and a few other things, boil them, and you have dashi. It's actually pretty simple to make, but we're using the powder. So we'll make that real quick, and then that should be it for our dinner. So we'll bring that to a boil, throw that in, and we should be good to make our broths. I think basically I found a little article online that told me how to use this powder. You just put it in there, and once it comes to a boil, pretty much ready to use immediately. Just like that. So now we can take that and set that aside. We should have everything we need to make our 2 ramens. So the first thing I want to get started is these noodles, and I don't have 3 pots. So I'm using my wok as a noodle boiler pot, and I'm going to try to focus on one of the broths at a time. So we're going to do the shoyu ramen first, which is a soy sauce flavored soup base. And we'll start that one out on this back left smaller pot over here. First things first, get some oil in the pan and get that nice and hot. So once we get that nice and hot, we can add in our white onions that we saved from earlier, the crushed cloves of garlic, and then our ginger. Let that cook up until it's nice and fragrant. It's only really about half a minute that you need to cook this stuff down. So once we got that, we can add in our stock, which we're going to do half of our dashi mix and then half of our chicken stock. So we'll do 2 cups of the dashi. 1, 2, and then 2 cups of chicken stock. And then the final thing we add is just some soy sauce, about a 1/4 cup. And we can bring that to a boil. And that's basically it for that ramen. Now we can move on to our spicy miso ramen, which before we can do anything else, we've got to get this pork nice and brown. So for this one, we're doing a ground pork in the bottom. Cut that open and we'll get this in there. And then we're just waiting for that one to come to a boil before we add the final 2 little things that we gotta add to that. But we've got some oil in this pot. We can throw in just about that much pork. I want that get nice and browned up. So now that we've got that nice and cooked down, we can add in our ginger, our finely chopped shallot, and our garlic. Season that up with a little bit of salt and saute that for a few minutes until it gets nice and fragrant. I think I might have used a little bit too much ground beef. It's not really too big of a deal. Also, before we finish out this one, the back one is boiling. And the final thing we're gonna add to that one is some shiradashi to give it a little bit of that umami flavor. Now that one is completely finished. The only thing we need to do to that is add noodles and top it, but this water is taking forever to boil. But now this pork is cooked down and the vegetables are nice and fragrant in my miso ramen, we can add some sugar, about a teaspoon of sugar, ground white pepper, just about a teaspoon of sesame oil, 1 teaspoon of mirin. And once that's cooked for just about a minute, we can add just about a cup of our dashi, and then about 3 cups of our chicken stock. And now we just wait for this to come to a boil. And you can make either of these just as spicy as you want by adding kind of any kind of spicy base to it. I think I'm gonna leave mine non-spicy since it's so hot outside. I don't really want to eat spicy food right now, but I do want to give this back one a taste. Oh, that is really good. Yeah, I'm actually kind of surprised how good this soy sauce one is. And I don't know what's taking this water so long to boil, maybe because it's in such a big pot, but it is taking forever. And I still have to soft boil 2 eggs in that before I can start on the noodles, so I really need that to hurry up. So I had to close the door to get the water to start boiling, but it's basically boiling. So we can go ahead and get these noodles thrown in, and I love the way they package these noodles. It's so clean. We can get those in the water, along with our egg, and I'm gonna try to properly soft boil these eggs. I'm supposed to boil them for 6 minutes exactly, or 7 minutes exactly in order for a soft boil, but they're not even completely covered in my pot, so I'm gonna keep rotating them, so I don't know how those are gonna turn out. But our miso ramen is boiling, so we can at least do that, and we can add the thing that makes this miso ramen miso, which you guessed it, is red miso. And basically we're just gonna take a few tablespoons of this stuff, scoop it into our little strainer, my little micro strainer, and just kind of whisk it in there. And then there you have it, a miso base for our ramen. And I had to start over with the noodles and the eggs because I just needed more water. It was boiling away. But I got the noodles cooked up. The eggs are boiling. They got about a minute left, hopefully until soft boil. And then we're finally ready to plate and eat this just as the sun is setting. This took a lot longer than I thought it would. And that sunset is spectacular too. But I cannot wait to eat this. I'm starving. I haven't eaten since breakfast. That's the alarm for my eggs. Noodles are done, and technically I'm supposed to put these eggs in a ice bath, but I don't have an ice bath, so a refrigerator cool bowl of water that I've had in the refrigerator for the last 20 minutes will do fine. Let those cool off, and while we wait for those, we'll strain out these noodles. Add some noodles to each of the respective bowls. And we can top this left one with our shoyu ramen base. Like so. And then this right one is going to get our miso ramen base. And then we add our toppings. We got 1 wonderfully soft-boiled egg to each of these. Then we'll add some of this pork belly into the shoyu ramen. Some of these fish cakes to the miso ramen. green onions to both. This one's getting the circle ones, this one's getting the stringy ones. Miso ramen is also going to get some corn. This is just canned corn that I had in my van. As well as a few sheets of nori. For a garnish, these are completely optional. They just make it look cool. And to add a little bit of color, we're gonna get some pickled ginger in this one. There you have it. So I also made my cup of instant ramen. I found this original pack, which I thought fit better at a gas station on the way here. So I made that, and we've got our shoyu and miso ramen, and they do look pretty delicious. But I'm gonna try to eat outside. I'm not gonna set up my table or anything because the sun is already pretty much completely set. But I can eat right here, standing up. Partially outside. Oh, this smells so good too. I hate when I don't have someone else here to try it because it's just me eating my own food, telling you guys how good or bad it is. I like when I have a third party to kind of help me out, but without further ado. Oh my gosh, that is so good. Need a little bit more broth. There's so much flavor in there. And apparently the proper way to eat this in Japan is to slurp it. Which I don't mind because I usually eat like that anyways. And that is so good. And when I was researching this video, trying to figure out what kind of ramen I wanted to make and how to make it and looking up recipes and stuff, there's a ton of cool videos online about the history of ramen and how it started in China in World War II and how one guy invented these cup of noodles and it made him a billionaire, and it turned into this big international craze for ramen that we're now enjoying 50, 60 years later. I'm mostly excited for the miso ramen because that's my favorite kind of ramen. Cheers. Yeah. This one's definitely better. Those little fish cakes. I gotta say, miso ramen still tops out. I think I'm gonna finish this one and save that other one for later. And I can't believe how good this soft-boiled egg came out. It's almost perfect. It's starting to get windy out here. So overall, super happy with the way these came out. They're definitely a little bit quicker recipes than traditional ways of cooking ramen, but I'm really glad I found the world of true ramen as opposed to this instant ramen, because this is what I grew up on. This was my first forte into the world of ramen as a kid. A cup of noodles and instant ramen packets. I had no idea that there was so much that went into a bowl of ramen other than just a microwave. But anyways, I'm gonna finish this bowl of ramen and enjoy the little bit of sunset we have left. Morning. Slept pretty good last night. Got a little bit windy, which kept waking me up in the middle of the night, but it's since died off and there's basically no wind anymore. It is 7:30 and the back of the van started getting hot, so I had to wake up. But last night, after I crawled into bed, I realized that I forgot to even bring these out. I got this little peach drink to eat last night with my ramen, and then I got some mochi, which I ate. And I don't even really like mochi. I kind of just get it for the texture. Like, it's not bad, but it's just like so fun. It's just got such a unique, like, Play-Doh, like, I don't know. It's just fun to play with. But I think that's where I'm gonna call this video. Might go out and check out some of those rocks later. Looks like there's a cool canyon down there. As always, I truly appreciate you guys watching. If you haven't already, please think about clicking that subscribe button. It really does help out the channel. And I'll catch you guys next time.